a dog wandering through the woods found something strange, a backpack half buried under a pile of leaves. At first, no one thought much of it until the police opened it. What they discovered inside turned a quiet town into a media frenzy. And the dog, he wasn't just a stray anymore. He was a hero. It was an ordinary morning in the quiet town of Pinegrove, the kind where nothing ever really happens. People walked their dogs, kids went to school, and birds chirped lazily above the old maple trees. But in those same woods, just a few miles from the main road, something lay hidden, something that had been waiting silently for years. And the only reason anyone ever found it was because of a stray dog no one even knew existed. This story isn't just about a dog. It's about a mystery buried deep in the forest, about heartbreak, and about a discovery that would shake an entire community to its core. In the quiet town of Pinegrove, life usually moved at a gentle pace. Nestled among towering pines and rolling hills, the community was small but close-knit. People knew each other by name, shared stories on front porches, and trusted the rhythm of the seasons to carry them through. But that peace was about to be disrupted by an unlikely visitor. No one knew exactly when the dog first appeared. Some said months ago, others thought it might have been longer. All they knew was that a lone dog had started wandering near the edges of town, near the old hiking trails and forgotten paths that most residents rarely ventured down anymore. He was a strange sight. No collar, no tags, no signs of having been loved or cared for. His fur was rough and matted, his movements cautious and guarded. The dog limped slightly, favoring one leg, and his eyes told stories of hardship, wary, searching, and sad. People tried to approach him. Some tossed scraps of food, hoping to gain his trust, but the dog always kept his distance, slipping away before anyone could get too close. Without a collar or any form of identification, no one knew his name. The town began calling him Ghost, a fitting nickname for a creature who seemed more shadow than flesh, drifting silently through the trees, appearing and disappearing without warning. Locals whispered stories about him. Some claimed he was a stray born to survive on the streets. Others speculated he might have run away from an abusive home. A few even believed he was a spirit, a guardian of the forest sent to watch over Pinegrove. No one had any proof, only the dog's sad, limping figure weaving through the underbrush. Despite his reluctance to approach people, Ghost behaved oddly. He didn't beg for food the way stray dogs usually did. Instead, he seemed focused, almost purposeful. He was often seen near the hiking trails, pacing restlessly or barking at no apparent cause. One morning, a group of hikers reported hearing his bark echoing through the trees, frantic, urgent, but when they tried to find him, he vanished without a trace. On a crisp autumn afternoon, a couple was out walking their golden retriever Max. Emily and James, longtime residents of Pinegrove, enjoyed weekend hikes on the local trails. That day, as they strolled along the edge of an overgrown path, Emily noticed a sudden burst of barking ahead. It wasn't Max. It was the unknown dog, Ghost. He stood at the entrance of a narrow trail, barking nonstop, his eyes fixed on them with an intensity that sent a chill down Emily's spine. He wasn't just barking. He was trying to say something. Ghost circled in tight loops, pacing back and forth, and then suddenly ran a few feet down the path, stopping to look back. Emily frowned. "Do you think he wants us to follow him?" James shrugged. "Probably just wants some food." But as they continued walking, Ghost kept glancing back, barking sharply. There was urgency in his behavior, a warning or a plea. After a few minutes of hesitation, Emily said, "Maybe we should see where he's going. Could be someone's lost dog, or maybe an animal in trouble." James agreed, and they started following Ghost. The trail was barely visible, overgrown with brambles, tangled vines, and thick underbrush. It was a path few had taken in years, but Ghost moved confidently, navigating the rough terrain with surprising ease. Emily and James struggled to keep up, their boots sinking into the soft earth, branches scratching their arms. The deeper they went, the quieter it became. The usual sounds of birds chirping and leaves rustling faded away. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Ghost stopped every now and then to look back, as if checking they were still there. His limping slowed but did not stop. Emily's heart raced. What could be so important that this dog was willing to lead strangers into the unknown? After nearly half a mile, Ghost halted suddenly in front of a large pine tree. At its base was a strange mound covered with dead leaves and moss. Ghost's paw struck the mound frantically, digging furiously with a desperation that made Emily's stomach tighten. James crouched down, brushing away the leaves. Underneath, something was buried. It was a backpack, old, moldy, torn at the seams. The kind of backpack you'd expect a hiker to carry, but definitely not something you'd expect to find buried deep in a forgotten forest path. Emily felt a shiver run through her. Why was this here? And what was inside? Without hesitation, James pulled out his phone and dialed 911. He explained the situation calmly, but with a growing edge of worry. Within minutes, police and rescue teams arrived, alerted to the possibility of a missing person or evidence buried in the woods. Ghost stayed close, eyes scanning the forest, ears perked. It was as if he was guarding something far more important than just an old backpack. Within minutes, flashing lights cut through the late afternoon shadows. Officers from the Pinegrove Police Department arrived, their faces set with concern as they listened to James's account. Detective Sarah Miller was the first to step forward, her eyes scanning the surroundings carefully. She knelt beside the backpack, examining its worn fabric and strange placement beneath the pine tree. "How long do you think it's been here?" she asked quietly. "No idea," James replied, "but it looks like it's been buried for a while." Sarah nodded and called for the forensic team to collect the evidence. She also radioed the rescue unit to conduct a search of the area nearby. The officers took careful notes, their movements methodical, yet tense. Something about this scene felt different, heavier, like this wasn't just about a lost bag in the woods. Throughout it all, the dog, now clearly named Guardian by the rescue team, remained close, his body tense, eyes alert. He limped over to the officers, then back to the tree, as if urging them to hurry. A local volunteer who had arrived whispered, "He's not just a stray. That dog knows something." Emily, still catching her breath, watched as Guardian circled the mound again, pawing the ground softly, almost gently now. It was clear he was guarding more than the backpack, perhaps something buried deeper beneath the soil. As night began to fall, rescue teams and volunteers formed search parties. Using flashlights and metal detectors, they combed the surrounding area for signs of anything buried or hidden. The air was thick with anticipation and fear. What had Guardian found? Was someone lost or in danger? Or was this just the beginning of a much larger mystery? Back at the station, forensic analysts carefully opened the moldy backpack. Inside were scattered papers, old, yellowed, and water-stained. A broken compass, a rusted pocket knife, and a faded badge. Detective Miller's eyes widened when she recognized the emblem on the badge. It belonged to Samuel Harper, a forest ranger who had disappeared nearly 5 years ago. Samuel Harper had been well known in Pinegrove for his dedication to preserving the forest. He was beloved by locals, a man who had spent decades protecting the woods from illegal logging and harmful development. His sudden disappearance had haunted the town ever since. Many believed he'd been a victim of foul play, but no one had ever found proof until now. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that Samuel's disappearance was tied to something much darker. Illegal logging operations had been pushing deeper into the forest, destroying habitats and threatening the ecosystem. Samuel had been outspoken against the corporations behind it, risking his safety to expose the truth. Had he been silenced to keep the secret hidden? Guardian's arrival at the mound, his frantic digging, and his refusal to leave the area hinted at a deeper connection. Had the dog belonged to Samuel? Was he trying to protect evidence or guide someone to the truth? The town's suspicion grew. This dog was no ordinary stray. He was a soldier in a silent war, fighting to keep the memory of Samuel alive. Whispers filled the town. Had Pinegrove's quiet forest been hiding secrets all along? What dangers lurked beneath the soil and tangled branches? And how far would someone go to keep those secrets buried? As the sun set, the woods seemed darker, more mysterious. The dog's unwavering presence was a beacon of hope, but also a reminder of the hidden battle just beneath the surface. Word of the backpack and the discovery spread quickly throughout Pinegrove. The quiet town, nestled between thick forests and winding trails, had always felt safe, but now, an uneasy feeling settled over its streets like a fog. At the local diner, whispers buzzed between sips of coffee. People wondered aloud about Samuel Harper's fate, the missing ranger who'd become part of local legend. "It's like the forest is finally telling us its secrets," one elderly man said. Another shook his head. "I just hope we're ready for what we might find." Meanwhile, Guardian had become a reluctant celebrity. Volunteers from the animal shelter arrived, hoping to help the stray, who had led rescuers to the discovery. Yet, Guardian remained distant, limping but determined, as if bound by a duty no one could understand. One of the volunteers, Mia, knelt beside him and softly said, "Who are you really? And what are you trying to tell us?" The dog's eyes locked onto hers for a long moment, intelligent, full of something almost human. It was clear this wasn't just a dog looking for food or shelter. Guardian carried a story, a mission. Detective Miller and her team expanded the search around the mound. Using shovels and ground-penetrating radar, they unearthed more than just roots and dirt. Fragments of a metal box, rusted and partially crushed, carefully excavated. The box revealed documents, old photographs, and a small journal. The photos showed Samuel Harper alongside other men, some smiling, others serious, near the same forest trails. The journal's pages, though faded, hinted at a growing conflict over the forest's future. Flipping through the journal, Detective Miller's heart pounded as she read entries about illegal logging crews moving stealthily at night. Samuel's notes described threats he had received, anonymous warnings to stop interfering. One passage chilled her to the bone. If I disappear, know that the forest's fight isn't over. Someone must carry the torch. Who was Samuel referring to? Was it Guardian? Or someone else hidden in the shadows? Back at the forest edge, Guardian never left the mound. He lay close by day and night, his gaze sharp and alert. Local hikers noticed his presence and respected the silent watchdog guarding a place none dared approach. Children whispered stories about the dog who guards secrets, and soon Guardian's image spread on social media, sparking curiosity far beyond Pinegrove. With every day that passed, the tension in Pinegrove thickened. The police kept digging, but answers remained elusive. Who had buried the backpack? What else was hidden in the forest? And what was Guardian's true connection to the missing ranger? The mystery was no longer just a local curiosity. It was becoming a fight for justice, for truth, and for the soul of the forest itself. Pinegrove's residents faced a crossroads. Some wanted to leave the past buried, to forget the ranger and the dangers lurking in the woods. Others felt compelled to honor Samuel's legacy and stand against the forces threatening their home. And through it all, Guardian remained the silent soldier, a symbol of loyalty and courage in the face of darkness. One chilly evening, as the moon cast a silver glow through the trees, Detective Miller decided to visit the forest site again. She wasn't alone. A few officers and volunteers followed quietly behind. Guardian was already there, lying near the mound, his ears perked up, sensing their approach. The night was eerily still except for the crunch of leaves beneath their boots. The detective's flashlight swept over the underbrush, and suddenly, Guardian stood up, his body stiff, eyes fixed on a faint rustling in the distance. Out of the darkness, a figure emerged, moving quickly, but cautiously. The group froze. Guardian let out a low, warning growl, his body tense between the intruder and the people. The figure stopped, hands raised in surrender. It was a young man, dirty, exhausted, and clearly frightened. I didn't mean to scare anyone, he said quietly. I live nearby. The man introduced himself as Leo, a local woodsman who had noticed strange activity in the forest for months. He spoke of late-night trucks hauling timber out of hidden paths, men who warned him to stay silent. He also mentioned seeing a large dog near the old ranger station, a dog that seemed to watch over the forest as if it belonged to it. When Leo heard about Guardian and the backpack, his eyes widened. Maybe that dog is trying to protect something, he said. Maybe he knows what happened to Ranger Harper. Detective Miller knew Leo's information could be the break they needed. She took careful notes and promised to keep him safe if he agreed to help the investigation. Guardian, sensing the importance of this moment, nuzzled Leo gently, almost as if to say, welcome. The night's encounter added a new layer to the mystery, sparking hope and fear in equal measure. Back in town, rumors swirled. Some were eager to uncover the truth, while others whispered warnings to stop digging. Local business owners, afraid the investigation might scare away visitors, pressured officials to downplay the story. But the community's divide only strengthened Guardian's role as a symbol, a guardian not just of the forest, but of Pinegrove's conscience. Days turned into nights, and Guardian never wavered. He paced the mound, pawing at the earth, his body worn but his spirit unbroken. Volunteers took turns bringing food and water, but the dog's focus never faltered. He was waiting for something only he seemed to understand. In the quiet moments between the investigation's chaos, Detective Miller often found herself drawn to the forest's edge. She could almost hear the trees whispering secrets about a man who gave everything to protect these woods, about a dog who refused to let his memory fade, and about a darkness that still lurked just beyond the light. One morning, as dawn painted the sky with soft pink and gold, a knock came at Detective Miller's door. It was an elderly woman from the outskirts of Pinegrove, Mrs. Evelyn Clark, a former forest ranger who had worked alongside Samuel Harper many years ago. Her eyes were tired but determined. "I heard about what you found," she said quietly, "and about the dog." She paused, then added, "Guardian isn't just any dog. He was Samuel's partner before Samuel went missing." Evelyn invited Detective Miller to her small, cluttered home, filled with photos and memorabilia. She shared stories about Samuel, his fierce dedication to protecting the forest, the threats he faced, and the deep bond he shared with Guardian. "You see," Evelyn explained, "Guardian was trained for more than just patrols. He was part of a special unit, trained to track, to protect, to fight for those who couldn't speak." Detective Miller listened, feeling the weight of history settle over her. This was no ordinary rescue dog. Evelyn's revelation changed everything. Guardian's presence at the mound was no coincidence. He had been guarding not just a backpack, but a legacy, a silent sentinel standing watch over a secret Samuel had risked everything to protect. The detective realized the investigation was about to become far more complicated and far more dangerous. Evelyn handed over an old map, yellowed with age, showing secret trails and hidden clearings in the forest. One marked spot, near the mound, was labeled simply, "The Truth." Samuel believed the forest held answers that could stop the destruction, Evelyn said, voice trembling, but he never got the chance to reveal them. Detective Miller knew the journey ahead would be filled with shadows and uncertainty. Back in the forest, unknown eyes watched every move. Someone, or something, was monitoring the search. The illegal loggers weren't going to let the truth come to light without a fight. Guardian sensed the danger, his growl sharper, his stance more protective. He wasn't just fighting for survival, he was fighting for justice. As the police delved deeper, Pinegrove citizens grew restless. Some feared the investigation would bring unwanted trouble. Others wanted to rally behind Guardian and the memory of Samuel Harper, hoping to save their forest and honor their fallen hero. The town was split, trust versus fear, hope versus silence. Detective Miller understood the stakes. Guardian's relentless vigilance was a call to action. The secrets buried beneath the pine trees were more than history. They were a warning. If they didn't act quickly, the forest and everything Samuel fought for could be lost forever. As days passed, Detective Miller decided to join the late-night patrols in the forest. She wanted to understand what Guardian saw, the dangers lurking beyond the edge of the trail. On one of these cold, quiet nights, the group heard the distant roar of engines. Flashlights revealed shadowy figures moving heavy equipment through the trees. Illegal loggers working under the cover of darkness. Guardian's growl echoed sharply, a warning to the intruders. The loggers noticed Guardian immediately. One of them shouted, "Get that damn dog." Suddenly, Guardian dashed forward, fearless despite the odds. The officers moved quickly, trying to stop the destruction. But it was clear, these weren't ordinary criminals. They were well organized and desperate to protect their operation. In the chaos, Detective Miller found a pile of documents hidden beneath a tarp. The papers detailed permits and contracts, some forged, others missing entirely. It was evidence of a massive cover-up involving powerful local figures who wanted the forest cleared at any cost. The truth was far bigger than anyone had imagined. Through it all, Guardian never left the mound. Even after the police intervention, the dog returned each day, pawing at the earth, as if urging them to dig deeper. The community began to see him as a symbol of resistance, a protector standing between the forest and its enemies. But the pressure weighed heavily on everyone involved. Volunteers grew exhausted. Detective Miller faced threats and intimidation. The community's division deepened, neighbors arguing over the forest's future, torn between economic survival and environmental preservation. Through it all, Guardian remained a steady presence, loyal, determined, and unyielding. One afternoon, a volunteer digging near the mound uncovered a rusted metal box. Inside was a journal, worn, water-stained, but intact. The handwriting inside was unmistakable. It was Samuel Harper's diary, pages filled with warnings, confessions, and desperate pleas for justice. Reading the journal, Detective Miller felt a heavy responsibility settle over her shoulders. Samuel's words painted a picture of betrayal, greed, and a fight to protect something far more valuable than timber, a sacred land tied to the community's past. The dog's desperate actions now made sense. Guardian wasn't just protecting a grave, he was guarding the soul of Pinegrove. Detective Miller spent late nights poring over Samuel Harper's journal. Each page revealed a new piece of the puzzle. Details about illegal logging operations disguised as legitimate projects, names of corrupt officials, and warnings about the devastating impact on the forest and its wildlife. But the most chilling entry was near the end, a cryptic message that Samuel feared for his life. According to the journal, Samuel had discovered that someone close to him was involved in illegal activities. He had planned to expose them, but before he could, he vanished without a trace. Guardian had been searching for him ever since. News of the journal leaked. Some townsfolk were angry, others fearful. Protests erupted outside the town hall, demanding justice and transparency. But those benefiting from the illegal logging fought back with threats and bribes. The conflict threatened to tear Pinegrove apart. Despite the chaos, Guardian stayed at the mound, his eyes always watchful. He became a beacon of hope for those who believed in justice. People began volunteering to help with the investigation, inspired by the dog's loyalty and courage. One evening, a stranger arrived in Pinegrove. He claimed to be a former colleague of Samuel's, bringing evidence that could finally crack the case wide open. But no one was sure if he could be trusted. Detective Miller knew she had to be cautious. With each new revelation, the danger grew. Detective Miller and the volunteers faced increasing intimidation. Vehicles were vandalized, anonymous threats were sent, and one night, the forest ranger station was set on fire. The stakes had never been higher. Through it all, Guardian remained undeterred. He was more than a dog. He was the guardian of truth, the silent witness to a mystery that had haunted Pinegrove for years. His unyielding spirit became a rallying cry. The fight was far from over, but with Guardian leading the way, hope still burned bright. Tensions in Pinegrove reached a boiling point. The peaceful town was no longer peaceful. The illegal logging operation ramped up despite police warnings, and protests turned violent. Detective Miller found herself at the center of a storm, fighting not just to protect the forest, but to save her community from tearing itself apart. One cold, foggy morning, Guardian disappeared. The community feared the worst, but hours later, he returned, dragging something behind him. It was a piece of torn clothing, a jacket with a familiar insignia. Samuel Harper's jacket. The discovery reignited the investigation. It confirmed that Samuel's disappearance was no accident. Someone in Pinegrove had tried to silence him forever. Guardian had found the first clue to unlocking the mystery. With renewed determination, the townsfolk came together. They organized search parties, community meetings, and media coverage. The story of Guardian and Samuel Harper spread beyond Pinegrove, drawing attention and support from environmental groups and local authorities. Detective Miller used the journal, the jacket, and Guardian's guidance to follow new leads. They uncovered hidden logging sites, bribery schemes, and even threats made against those who spoke out. It was a dangerous game, but the truth was finally coming to light. The dog who once seemed like a stray was now a hero, a soldier in a silent war to protect Pinegrove's future. His loyalty, bravery, and persistence inspired a town to stand up and fight. He wasn't just leading people to a buried backpack, he was leading them to justice. The battle was far from over, but with Guardian at their side, Detective Miller and the community knew they had a chance. The forest, the town, and the memory of Samuel Harper depended on it. After the discovery of the backpack and Samuel Harper's journal, Detective Miller felt the weight of responsibility like never before. This wasn't just another missing person case. It was a complex web of corruption, betrayal, and environmental destruction. Guardian, the stray dog who had become the silent hero, took on a new role, the town's unexpected guide in this dangerous journey. Every day, he led Detective Miller and the team deeper into the forest, his sharp instincts revealing paths and signs that no human eyes had noticed. The forest was thick and wild, nature reclaiming old trails and hiding secrets beneath layers of leaves and soil. Guardian seemed to know exactly where to go, pausing to sniff certain spots, pawing at hidden objects, or growling softly to signal something unusual. One afternoon, following his lead, the team uncovered a clearing where heavy machinery tracks marked the soft earth. Nearby, discarded oil cans and chainsaws hinted at recent activity. It was a stark contrast to the untouched beauty surrounding it. Further investigation revealed a carefully concealed network of illegal logging operations. The loggers had cleverly camouflaged their camps with tarps and natural foliage, avoiding main roads and GPS detection. In one hidden cabin, the team found piles of timber ready for transport, along with falsified documents attempting to legitimize the operation. The logs were marked with official stamps, a sign of forgery and collusion. Back in Pinegrove, the impact of the illegal logging was becoming more visible. Local farmers reported disrupted water supplies, wildlife sightings dwindled, and the once pristine air carried the faint scent of burning wood. the community grew restless. Meetings were held at the town hall, where residents demanded answers and action. Guardian's story inspired many, the dog who refused to back down, who refused to run, symbolizing the town's fight for survival. But the deeper the investigation went, the more resistance the team faced. Threatening letters were left at Detective Miller's doorstep, tires were slashed, and volunteers received anonymous calls warning them to stop meddling. One night, the team's makeshift camp in the woods was vandalized, supplies destroyed and messages scrawled on tents warning them to leave. Despite the fear, Guardian stayed vigilant, sensing danger before it arrived, and comforting those shaken by the intimidation. Then came the turning point. Guardian led Detective Miller to an abandoned logging cabin hidden beneath thick vines and moss. Inside, amidst dust and decay, they found a trove of documents, ledgers, emails, and contracts revealing the full extent of the corruption. Names of local officials, company executives, and even law enforcement officers appeared on the papers, all implicated in the illegal scheme. Armed with irrefutable evidence, Detective Miller coordinated with higher authorities. Search warrants were issued, arrests were made, and the illegal logging camps were dismantled. Pinegrove became a beacon of hope, a small town standing up against powerful interests, led by the courage of a stray dog named Guardian. Through every challenge and setback, Guardian never left their side. He wasn't just a dog, he was a symbol of resilience, hope, and justice. The town would never forget how one stray dog's determination helped uncover the truth and sparked a movement that changed everything. The morning sun was just beginning to filter through the towering pines when Detective Miller and the team gathered for what would be the defining moment of their investigation. Months of tireless work, countless dangers faced, and sleepless nights had led to this day, the day they would finally confront the masterminds behind the illegal logging operation. The town of Pinegrove held its breath under the authority of a court-issued warrant. Police cars rolled quietly into the forest's edge. Volunteers, local rangers, and detectives fanned out into the undergrowth. Guardian, ever watchful, led the way once again, weaving through the thick brush with purpose. The illegal camps were caught off guard. Machines were seized. Timber was confiscated. Documents were secured as evidence. But the climax wasn't just about uncovering stolen wood. It was about exposing the corruption that had enabled it. In a tense standoff at the town hall later that day, Detective Miller presented the evidence gathered, the forged permits, the emails implicating officials, and the testimonies of volunteers who had risked everything. Faces in the crowd shifted, some shocked, others angry, and a few, those who had been complicit, grew pale. As the truth came to light, attention shifted to the small dog that had started it all. Guardian sat quietly beside Detective Miller, his eyes calm but alert. Local news crews flocked to Pinegrove, capturing the moment when the mayor publicly thanked Guardian, calling him the town's four-legged hero. The fallout was swift and severe. Arrests were made not only among the loggers, but also in the local government and law enforcement. Pinegrove's forest was declared a protected zone, and efforts to restore the damaged land began immediately. The community, once divided and fearful, united with newfound hope and determination. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Detective Miller stood quietly near the forest's edge. Guardian approached, nuzzling her hand gently. In that peaceful moment, it was clear. This story wasn't just about crime or corruption. It was about courage, loyalty, and the unexpected heroes who rise when the world needs them most. The story of Guardian, the stray dog who led a quiet fight against injustice, is a powerful reminder that heroes come in all shapes and sizes. From the moment he appeared, limping and wary, to the day he guided a desperate search for truth deep into the forest, Guardian showed what true loyalty and courage mean. Pinegrove was forever changed, not just because the illegal logging was stopped, or because corrupt officials were brought to justice, but because the community learned to listen to each other, to the silent cries of nature, and even to a stray dog whose heart was bigger than anyone could have imagined. Guardian's story is proof that sometimes the smallest voices, the most unexpected friends, can make the biggest difference. And in a world full of chaos, it's those moments of hope and bravery that remind us why we keep fighting. If Guardian's story touched your heart and reminded you of the power of courage and loyalty, please give this video a like and share it with your friends and family. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories about amazing animals who change lives every day. Have you ever met a dog or pet that surprised you in an unforgettable way? Share your story in the comments below. We'd love to hear about your own real-life heroes. Together, let's celebrate the incredible bond between humans and animals, because sometimes a dog really can change the world.